just in case you thought we were having gourmet food en route. One of the simplest things, and actually quite delicious.
And can you trust that you won't blow away in the wind?
Is cold Heinz baked beans.
Do you tether your hopes?
We've had more of these. How many would you say, Michelle? Maybe about 4 or 5 cans?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
It gives you all the protein, carbohydrates, little liquid. Heinz beans now are really watery. They used to be really hard to get out of the can, but I think they've watered them up so much now that you can pour them out into a pan really easy, but it does mean you're getting a lot less beans. Fairly uncomfortable night's sleep. I mean, it was comfortable because we knew we were allowed to be on this land, which was great of Chris to let us, but it was pretty lumpy. All these little tussocks are really like little bowling balls, so it wasn't super comfortable, but it was okay. We're debating today what to do because we've done about just over 70 kilometers of walking, mixed sort of coastal and that awful main road, and we've been close to being hit a few times by vehicles, and it's just, we either got to walk down in these sort of ditches and cliff tops. Now this is a beautiful place to walk if you're just doing a day hike and you've got a small backpack and you're just exploring the coastline, but if you're adding it to 1,000 miles, sorry, of walking on your Land's End John O'Groats Land's End walk, it's pretty harsh. You know, it probably adds another week or so onto your walk, and at least another, well, maybe even more, at least another 100 miles, I would say, of and harsher, much harsher walking, where you've got to walk along that A99 or A9. Probably there's 2 different ways down, but they're both really, really harsh, busy roads. And at this time of year, because of, you know, the lockdown, everybody's using it to come up here to get away for things. And Chris was saying it's infinitely busier now than it's ever been, with motorhomes and motorbikes, and cobble that together with the big trucks, the big articulated lorries that are driving through here. It's become quite hard. Now we're going to walk another stint today, so it's day 6, but I think we're going to have to think about this, whether it's worth risking our lives walking. The whole walk's over 100 miles. We've probably done a third of that now, but we're struggling whether we should really continue along this main road and risk our lives, or whether we should maybe find some way of getting to Inverness and starting our walk on more natural roads. Michelle and I kind of expected to be walking hand in hand through sort of the glens and things, you know. We didn't realize the first part. I would say to anyone that's going to walk this walk, no, I mean, everybody says this is the worst part of the walk, but you have to understand that this is a hard walk and also quite dangerous. I mean, when Ian Botham did it many years ago as a sort of charity, he had vehicles, support vehicles with him, flashing lights, keeping everything clear. But when you're walking just the 2 of you with a couple of backpacks, it's quite frightening at times. And that's not what we're into, really. We didn't come here to have a harsh, we don't want to kill ourselves. We want to do the walk, and we're not afraid of the big walk, but we don't want to put our lives at risk. So I don't know, we'll see how this goes today and make a decision at the end of today. So I've just come a little closer to get a look at where the walk would be. So you'd come somewhere along those walls. There's a little wooden bridge and a stile crossing into this very rough field, and at some point you're going to have to cross over that ditch of water, which will be wet. I can guarantee we've crossed many of them. So this is really just, you know, so people are prepared for what the John O'Groats trail will be like. It's a beautiful trail, don't get me wrong, this is gorgeous, but whether you want to add this to your 1,000 miles Land's End John O'Groats walk or not is probably, you know, entirely up to you. While I walk back to where we pitched last night, I'll give you an idea of the sort of ground that you'll be walking across in order to cross those fields. It's okay, it's getting a bit deep ahead of us here. Very little of the walk is going to be simple pathways. Whenever you see a low spot like this, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a bit of a ditch. This is often, even in the middle of summer as it is now, going to need some careful crossing, some wide strides. Otherwise you are going to be up to your ankles or even knees, as I was once or twice, in boggy water. There's the lovely Michelle. So Michelle's got the rubbish.
And it's day 6.
And we leave nothing behind.
Check around.
So Chris makes these round houses with grass roofs. He's built a few of them. Back out on the main road. Thank you, Chris. So I adjusted my pack a little higher today and I feel a little bit better, but it's early. It's hard to say. It always feels good early in the morning. I'm also trying a little with the Sony. I think it'd be a bit too windy. I'm really enjoying filming with the M50 and the microphone. But I'm using the little Sony to capture all the traffic today, just in case we get any more dangerous idiots that try to kill us. So I'm trying to film almost every one, just to see which sort give you a bit of space, even if there's plenty of oncoming space. Because there are times when there's no cars behind us for a long time and a car will still get really close to our arms and just try to worry us. And I get a feeling, it has been on an occasion, with a horse box on the back, and they look at you in a mean way, as if they intend to sort of trouble you, which is again one of the reasons why we're not so much enjoying the A99. Part of the simple highway code, when you've got obstacles coming towards you, is to slow down to a walking pace so that you can avoid those people in case something comes on. Now, anyone that says it's dangerous, it is dangerous walking on these roads, but often people have to, even sometimes, to just walk from a broken down vehicle to a town, and that's why we have to understand the simple highway code, how to deal with oncoming pedestrians on narrow roads. It's got to be done. You have to know it, because there are many times when people will have to walk these roads, and if you don't know how to deal with it, you shouldn't be on the roads. So there's a van. There's a perfect example of a guy who knows exactly what to do, and he smiled. He was going slow enough that with an oncoming car he was able to stop. You know, it's not often in a sort of 50-mile journey you're going to have to do it. It's not that much of an inconvenience. For those of them that have actually been unkind to us, I wish I could talk directly with them. I really wish I could. Up ahead of us I've seen a pretty big lorry, and it's a bad bend, so we've just come back a wee bit there. I didn't want to meet that on that bend. They always have a big line of vehicles behind them. So off we go again. These blind bends, these are the ones that trouble me most because of, dare I say it, idiots like that who are speeding, clearly speeding. They're a danger to pedestrians, they're a danger to other drivers, to be honest. Come around such a narrow road like this at that sort of speed. This is going to be a tough one. You see that old Range Rover? It's a 50-mile-an-hour road. He's probably doing close to 80, as if he's on a motorway. They're the ones that really cause all the problems. It might be a 60-mile-an-hour road, it's possible, but he was certainly doing close to 80. Always so impatient, and there be the people that eventually force this road to have a lot of speed cameras along, which I would hate to happen, and everybody would hate to happen. But in reality, it's that guy and the one before him that are the reason it keeps happening. So if you're annoyed by speed cameras, which I am, join the club. It's those sort of idiots, and they're a little self-righteous, who are causing the speed cameras to keep being put up in places where they needn't be. Okay. Now for those of you that think buying a little property up here in the relative wilderness will be a great thing to do, here's some thoughts from a couple that have lived out in these sort of farming wildernesses before. I say don't do it. Sure, it's pretty to look at, it feels idyllic. I mean, it's cold, it's windy, it's harsh. But you think you're bringing your family to live the green life, you know, the small holding. I mean, it's all right if you're in your sort of 40s and 60s. This is a place to come and retire and pass away. And then, you know, you can buy properties up here, we've been told, from under £10,000 with property, you know, you still got to build your own house on it. But very cheap properties up this way. And it seems like a great way to come. If you're in your sort of 40s to 60s, sure, this could be a place to come, live out that lifestyle, but when you pass away, no one's going to want this place off of you. No one. And you'll get a penny on the pound for what you've invested into it. If you try to come here with a young family, you'll give them a lovely time, but they'll want to leave. They won't want to stay here. So these are just my opinions. They're not expert opinions, but they're coming from a couple who have lived this sort of lifestyle. I would say don't do it. And if you're walking Land's End to John O'Groats, be very careful. Look at this road. We've got a tight bend. And we can't see round the corner. They can't see us coming. Think about this last section, the A99 or the A9. Think about it. And I would say, think about how you can do it a different way. That's what you're up against. And that's why today is our decision day as to whether or not we're going to carry on this road or do something different. Because frankly, I'm loving the walk, but I'm not liking this road. See, a property like that at one time would have featured on Grand Designs, and now it's just derelict, run down, everything's falling to pieces. I guess if we had the bodies of a 25-year-old, would it be easier? Well, it must be, right? It must be. But it's hard going, and it's hot. And then it's cold.